There were actually just three main buildings when I first got here. The main hall, Dwyer Hall, and what was then known as the Psychology Department, or I guess South Hall. Some people called it that. And then there were a series of cottages, very small buildings, literally cottages, that were up behind the university on the hill that had been used by the physicians, I think mostly, when it was still a sanatorium. And in fact, the South Building, which became the Psychology Department, was a residential facility for the nurses and other medical staff that were caring for the patients here. All the rooms were prepared as patient rooms, so the doors were very wide to accommodate beds going in and out. Many of the classrooms had private bathrooms in them. And it wasn't uncommon at all to find beds and various kinds of medical equipment scattered throughout the hallways and still in the classrooms as well. So just no one had cleaned it out. It was still there, and there was perhaps no time to do that. So it was a little unusual, to say the least. But the hill in front of Main Hall was there at the time, which was an important gathering spot when the weather was good. We had a student lounge, sort of, in the main hall on the second floor. It was just a room, really, with a few tables in it. There were no food facilities at all. In fact, one of the major student issues at the time was how we were going to get the administration to get better vending machines in for us, because the ones that were there were just despicable. They were terrible. I remember cheeseburgers that you were supposed to heat up in some way that were just awful. But I remember there were some great, games of hearts up there. And I met my wife there. I mean, what more could I ask for? And some special times with David Nichols, working with him to develop resources for doing studies on animal behavior and animal communication, and many of the other faculty and administrators that were working in various parts of the campus. It was so small that we got to know everybody. Or so it seemed, that you knew everybody. Certainly there was an intimacy here at the time with 500 students and just a fraction of faculty, that at least everyone was recognized, if not known. I was sitting in the student lounge, and this young woman walks in who's totally captivating. I needed a way to meet her. I had to meet her. This was really important. And it had been several years before that we had painted the water tower as the cream of elephant soup. There were a group of us that bought some paint, not yellow paint, I beg your pardon, white paint, red paint, black paint. And we decided that the water tower would serve as a really perfect example of cream of elephant soup, because it was big and you needed a big can for elephant to go into, and the water tower was big. So we went up there with ladders and rollers and paintbrushes, and we made Campbell's cream of elephant soup in the middle of the night. And the paint was starting to fade a bit. So several of us were talking about the importance of repainting it, refreshing the paint. So I went to her to ask if she might contribute to that. And she said, well, I don't have any money, but I'll help you collect money. So that was our first date. We used the money that we collected to go out on our first date. It was a fabulous time. I think everybody that was here came here for different reasons, but thrived and were able to appreciate and advance despite the limited resources that were available at the time. I think people appreciated and recognized that they were contributing to the establishment of an educational opportunity, educational facility that would serve this community. And it was a fun place to be. Overwhelmed by the growth that has occurred. Thrilled to see the name Gallagly in several places, because we both hold them dear, both the parents as well as their children. I taught statistics to Jim Gallagly when he took the experimental psychology course. And absolutely thrilled to recognize and appreciate the generosity of that family in supporting the campus. So to see what's happened now is breathtaking, and it's clear that the leadership of this campus has really worked hard. I understand in particular that the Chancellor has been a very powerful influence in moving the campus forward. And it's very exciting. I've come home, but I don't recognize home anymore so much. I recognize elements And I recognize elements in some of the students that have been described to me that are students like I was. They don't have any money. They can't afford to go into debt. Some of them have families. They need to work full time. They have many obligations in their life. And the campus is still committed to trying to meet their needs. And that's gratifying to see that. I'm excited to see that.